there were movies that were starting to show up in theaters that were coming out of this thing called the Sundance Film Festival. And there was Reservoir Dogs, and there was Clerks and El Mariachi, and all these like great independent filmmakers were making these very low budget films, going to Sundance Film Festival in Park City, Utah, getting bought, and then put in these theaters. And we were in New York City, and they would come on the theaters, and we'd go watch them. We were like, we are going to make a movie that's going to be on that screen. And, I'm sure everybody laughed at us. Like, what are the odds that that could happen?
So how do we apply all of the things about failure and challenges and setting big goals to the journey that was creating Super Troopers?
Yeah, talk about achieving goals. I was talking about, I actually have a friend who won the lottery, which is insane. Like he one day went into a gas station and bought a lottery ticket and won. I mean, the odds are greater than getting hit by an asteroid, I think, is what the statistics are. But I feel the same about Super Troopers, right? Like we made Super Troopers as an independent film. So we were a sketch comedy group. We performed for many years, kind of like the Beatles did in Germany. Like we performed in small clubs in Greenwich Village for like 5 years before we made a film, and nobody had ever heard of us. But we had, done our time for years and years and years developing ourselves as a sketch comedy group. So we put in a lot of practice, a lot of hard work. But, we had to go make the movie independently, make it so it was strong enough to get into the Sundance Film Festival. And then we may have been the only movie that got bought at the Sundance Film Festival and actually put in theaters. There may be another movie that I'm just blanking right now, but the odds of that are kind of similar to winning the lottery or getting hit by an asteroid in a sense. But I think that all goes back to the lesson I'm trying to say is that to me, it all goes back to that one day when I was skiing and my mom said, you're going to fall down, but just keep getting back up again, and again. And it was just years of rejection and hard work but keep going. It's like what you're talking about is you set that goal. You set the goal for the American Ninja Warrior. We set the goal that we wanted to have a movie come out in theaters. So what happened was we were a sketch comedy group in New York City, performing live shows, just scraping by. I mean, totally scraping by. And there were movies that were starting to show up in theaters that were coming out of this thing called the Sundance Film Festival. And there was Reservoir Dogs, and there was Clerks and El Mariachi, and all these like great independent filmmakers were making these very low budget films, going to Sundance Film Festival in Park City, Utah, getting bought, and then put in these theaters. And we were in New York City, and they would come on the theaters, and we'd go watch them. We were like, we are going to make a movie that's going to be on that screen. And, I'm sure everybody laughed at us. Like, what are the odds that that could happen? But we worked really hard. We wrote 20 drafts of a script. We shot a half an hour film. I mean, it's not a feature, half an hour film to kind of learn. And then we shot a feature film for $100,000 that we scraped together on credit cards and borrowing from aunts and uncles. And we shot it at the University, Colgate University, where we went. And that was all training kind of to learn how to do this creative stuff that most of the people that are watching this podcast, you work in the creative field. So that was our film school in a way. Nothing happened with those things, but it was a way for us to learn how to do it. And then, so Super Troopers was our second feature. And by then we were kind of learning the craft, but we still had to make it independently and then cross our fingers that it would get sold. And in 2001, it got sold at the Sundance Film Festival to Fox Searchlight and ended up in theaters. But I do believe that all of that belief that I could do something that was that challenging all started from when I was a kid, that one day on the ski hill.